Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. Now, y'all, I'm going to break down this reading, but to begin, I wrote a few sentences that describes, this is almost like just a short narrative about this reading. A Queen of Cups acted as a partner in crime and trusted that a shaman's path would grant them happiness. This shaman is a warrior that is watched from the skies above. To conquer this shaman, you must first conquer yourself. This Queen of Cups never conquered themselves, but somehow thought that they could conquer the shaman. And so, y'all, anybody that tries to conquer you has not conquered themselves. And anybody that has conquered themselves would never attempt to conquer another. Y'all, the story that I'm about to tell you, it is a reading literally of a shaman's path. The path of a shaman was supposed to provide happiness to a Queen of Cups, but this Queen of Cups was an accomplice. This was a partner in crime. We're saying that there is somebody in your life. Now, when we say Queen of Cups, sometimes we think of wife, we think of the mother of our child. This could be an aunt, it could be a grandmother, it could be a mother, it could be a matriarch. None of the characters that I just mentioned have to be a Queen of Cups. I really want us to think about an energy that is emotionally aligned with femininity, but obviously, if somebody is an accomplice, right, this is the type of Queen of Cups that is going to help another person commit a crime. And so typically Queen of Cups is sweetheart, but when we're talking about committing crimes, we're going to turn that Queen of Cups upside down. This is an emotional manipulator. This is somebody that will use spiritual gifts, intuitive knowledge. They will use insight. They will use emotions and feelings. They use the entire element of water in order to accomplish and manipulate a task so that they can get to a certain outcome. So you put that spirit in anybody you want to put it in, but this reading is saying that this is a Queen of Cups. This is a partner in crime. When I give this reading, I am speaking to the shaman that could not be conquered. I'm speaking to the warrior, right? I have a handmade card. It comes right on top of the Queen of Cups. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. If there is anything that this Queen of Cups is learning and understanding in this moment, it is the fact that the mightiest warrior must be the one who has overcome their own challenges, who has moved beyond their own obstacles. All right, let's get into the reading. So the reading begins with a handmade card that says, your intuition is so strong that not only do you know who you are, you know who they are too. Now, we're about to talk about a moment where you literally are called to the front of a line. This plan, this plot to take the path of a shaman, for a period of time, you were not yet walking on your path. The very moment that somebody organizes a crime around you and your life, it is the moment that your soul awakens. You carry the soul not only of a shaman, but this reading describes you as the huntress. Your ancestors, your spirit guides, your spirit team needed you to understand that you have the soul of a huntress. And so you don't play small, but you also don't play from the back of the room or at the end of the line. And so at the moment that the plot is in play, the ancestors say, baby, I need you to wake up. You're called to the front of the line. You have a revelation about things that are unfolding. When the huntress comes, this means judgment. This is essentially the day that you will walk in the path of your shamanic journey, and it is only by way of a crime that surrounds your life. Literally, how many of us have woken up in the middle of a death plot, and the victim was us? How many of us have woken up to the gifts that we are carrying? And it was at a moment where we needed ourselves most. We needed to know ourselves the most. And so this is what I'm saying. You know, sometimes people are plotting wicked things and they have no idea that that was the very plot that would awaken our soul to who we were. And so this plot is a moment of renewal. This is rebirth. When you wake up, during this crime or the planning or the unfolding of this crime, your intuition kicks on in a way that is so strong. Immediately, you know who you are, meaning you understand that there's an event at play and you understand the role that they need you to play, but you also understand who all the accomplices are, right? You may not have ever been able to see or understand that about you, your life, or your story, but the moment it mattered most, you were called to the front of the line to understand the power of your soul. There's something you can see. There's something you need to know, and it is about self. And so the way this plan unfolds, why is it that this Queen of Cups is chosen or selected to be an accomplice? Well, I got the 10 of Wands. And so this is saying that there is a moment in somebody's life that is attached to you where they are going through struggle, they're going through difficulties, they're burdened, they're weighed down, and they really want to, and listen, when you're at the 10 of Wands, I hope I said 10 of Wands, I may have said 10 of Cups. So we start with the energy of the 10 of Wands. And so somebody is burdened, and don't y'all know that is when the deal comes. That is when the temptation and the offer comes, when you are really at the end of your rope. 10 staffs or 10 wands, that is as heaviest as the burden can be. And then the cycle is over. And so somebody is wanting to experience success and triumph. And they want this to come after a very heavy cycle of carrying weight. What type of weight was this Queen of Cups carrying? Debt. Debt. And so this Queen of Cups owed people money. She had bills that were due, or he had outstanding payments. They had financial obligations that felt like burdens on their back. And it was at that moment that they needed a wish to be granted. They needed help. They wanted to progress forward. They wanted to push ahead with their plans. This is the type of person who had been so burdened by debt that they wanted to live a life where they wanted for nothing. They wanted every one of their needs met. What I'm saying is like the desire, it was there, and anybody that was willing to fulfill the desire. Listen, some people can be bought for a goddamn light bill, a water bill, a damn finger hut bill. Some people can just be bought, right? In order to get out of the heaviness of their own burdens. And the path of a shaman is the path that everybody involved in this trusted would take them to some type of happiness. And so in order for a Queen of Cups to get out of a burden financially, they needed a wish granted. In order for that wish to be granted for their own life, the soul of the huntress was needed. And this is the moment where you go through a soul awakening. Now, when you wake up, you see who this person is, you know what they've done, and you know who you are in this story. Y'all, I've never really shared this part of my journey, but I knew yesterday that I was going to have to. You know, so once I separated from my marriage, I moved back to what my hometown would have been, or just the general area, right? I hadn't lived there in like 18 years. Once I graduated college, I never went back home. Never. Yes, for summers. Yes, to work. Yes, for funerals. Yes, for weddings. Like events, yes. But like to live and to stay and to make home, no. Okay. I knew I was not supposed to be there in that way. So anyway, it's time for me to get out of my marriage, and I go back to the place that I never really wanted to go. Now, all of this is a part of my soul is awakening, and I have no idea what I'm going to walk into when I get there. So in my first 2 months of living in my hometown while going through a separation that's taking me towards a divorce, 2 aunts die, 2 close aunts, meaning the same state that I live in. These women live either 3 miles or 30 miles from me. Okay, so these are key support systems that have always held a place of strength in my life, meaning if you need something, like these are the women that would help. They pass within 28 days of each other. The first aunt to pass lives 3 miles from me. And then within 28 days, my second aunt passes. Now, all of this is unfolding when I have moved back home to an area where I have not been since I graduated essentially high school, because I really didn't even go home that much in college. I avoided it as much as possible. All right. So they pass. Now, I'm there with my two boys. I had a family member that I connected with that was supposed to room with me. We were supposed to share a space. She found the space where we were supposed to live. Like, we were supposed to be roommates. The first job I always wanted was to take care of my boys. And so I was willing to do any kind of night job or third shift or morning job while they were asleep, just so that I could spend the bulk of my time with them. Like, I knew the way I wanted parenting and motherhood to go. Okay. Well, the roommate, the family member that is supposed to live with me, decides not to. So now I got to figure out, well, how do I sustain myself? I go back to what I know. I get a teaching job. Okay. So my teaching job requires me to commute about 45 minutes to an hour and a half every day there and back into the city. Y'all, I was able to do this for 4 months. And honestly, if what I'm about to tell you happened next, if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't even physically have been able to sustain this lifestyle for much longer. A single mom, 2 young boys, getting up, like it was a lot. It was a lot. And people do this every single day, right? So I had been far removed from the city hustle and bustle because I really love the South. Okay. So I'm getting used to this, and 4 months into my teaching career, now I love playing soccer. I've talked about playing in college. I used to play with my kids at recess. On one day, we're not even on the soccer field. We are not even on the soccer field. We're like hanging around the equipment, like the jungle gym and the slides. We're hanging around there with the soccer ball, and the kids are kind of trotting around and passing it to me. Well, at some point, it feels like one of the kids have kicked me, and actually, my Achilles tendon ruptured, completely ruptured at recess. Y'all, there was a big back teacher who taught in the same grade level as me who was so nasty and disgusting. She saw me go down. I remember asking her, did somebody kick me? Because I had the feeling, but like nobody was close enough. And she was like, no, I didn't see anything. She takes her class upstairs. I'm still on the ground. It takes me and my kids about 20 minutes to get upstairs to the second floor where my classroom is. After recognizing that this is a serious moment, I texted my assistant principal. She comes in the class. She lays hands on me and prays for me. Okay, so I make contact. I make sure that my boys are going to be picked up from daycare, and the ambulance come and take me to the hospital. I'm there for the bulk of the day, get x-rays. It's ruptured. I'm going to have surgery. So 4 months into my new teaching career, right? New place, two women have it. Like, just think about what I've already told you. Now I am home. Okay, so within about 2 weeks, I honestly think it was the day before Thanksgiving of 2021. Can I tell you? November 10th of 2021. So we know about the portals 11/11. So the day before 11/11 of 2021 is when I ruptured my Achilles tendon. The next 4 months I'm going to be home. It is so hard to not be mobile, right? With 2 kids, 2 and under. Okay. And so there was that in a 3-story townhouse. There was that, right? And then there was just, it was a lot, y'all. New town, 2 women passed, separation, right? Preparing for divorce. Like, it was a lot. And what I am telling you is, at some point during that 4 months that I was home, I went through a soul awakening. My ancestors, my spirit guides, the Most High called me to the front of the line to reveal to me the type of soul that I was fucking carrying. The entire story that I've shared with you, it is just a snippet of a lifetime of wild events that have been orchestrated. And I lived asleep in plots that were supposed to always bring me to my knees. And they did successfully, but then I continued to get up. But the event that I have just described, losing my job, women dying, like all of this, it was supposed to be a slow leak, meaning I was able to see that the way my life was unfolding, I was being prepared for my own ending, but it was supposed to look at some point like I had had enough. Like, I took my own self out. Like, it was supposed to look like, if you were to watch my life, anybody reading my story, when we got to the end of how they were writing it for me, which means I would have no longer existed, anybody that would have read my story would have been able to empathize and sympathize with the fact that I kind of wanted to end it all. Like, this is how it was supposed to look. There were hidden hands, but I was just a puppet on a string until my soul awakened. Okay? Now, that is how it happened for me. Once I was awakened, y'all, after 4 months, I was supposed to go back to this teaching job, but I already understood about the environment. I understood about the school. I understood about the people. Like I knew what would happen next, and whatever left of my spirit that hadn't been broken up and what I already experienced, it was going to be destroyed if I returned to that workplace. And so in my soul, I knew I couldn't. When I was home for 4 months with the boys, I started a YouTube channel. And this is when I picked up tarot for the second time. When I picked up tarot for the first time, I felt so shameful that I threw everything away just because of the pressure from religious family members. Okay. So during this period, my soul was called to the front. I'm picking up tarot. I'm reading. But I don't yet know who everybody is. And so I'm sharing my tarot journey with the same people that are literally plotting the end of me, right? Everybody's supposed to benefit from me no longer existing. But I wake the fuck up. Now, I don't return to the job. And within the next 3 months, it is literally me playing with time. At some point, it will be made known to me that I need to leave. I need to leave immediately, okay? And I can't really tell everybody the exact day or time. Like I gotta and my children were having doctor's appointments. And so I knew I didn't want to leave the state until I fulfilled the major doctor's appointments. And the last one was a dentist appointment, right? And so the only thing that is keeping me there, once I determined that I'm not going to return to that job, it was really medical appointments, which is a beautiful thing because it looked like I wasn't going anywhere, because I was still going to appointments. But in my soul, I knew I had to leave. And I knew if I didn't leave, y'all, we wouldn't be having this moment, right? And so I started moving different, started talking different because my soul was awake. It was awake. And listen, this card literally says your intuition is so strong that not only do you know who you are, you know who they are too. Like those words could literally have been coming out of the mouth of the Most High, of any spirit guide. That is what was being spoken to me. But it was like piece by piece by piece. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it all, y'all. So I finally get to the last doctor's appointment. And this last doctor's appointment is during the 8/8 portal of 2022. Okay. And it was on the day of the doctor's appointment that I actually got a call from a family member who was inviting me on a trip. And they were like, we're going to wait till so-and-so returns. He's out of the country, but when he returns, we'll take a trip. I knew in my soul when I heard that call that invitation, that would have been the trip that would have ended me. That would have been my no more. Now I'm leaving the doctor's office and I'm like, okay, yeah, we just went to the doctor's. And as soon as we leave that office, I am driving 12 hours south. Nobody knows this. Nobody. I get to North Carolina and one of the family members makes contact with me. Let me just say something else. At some point, one of my aunts that passed, it was offered to me that I could live in her house, but I had just signed a lease, to live elsewhere. And I didn't want to, and honestly, she passed in her house and I just didn't feel comfortable. Immediately I was in grief. And when it was offered to me almost right after her death, I was like, no. Right now, when I decided not to return to work, I had time to play with. And one of the things that I was led to spiritually do is to kind of ask if it is possible for me to still live in that home. Is that still open? Am I still right? And so once I put that out there, I was supposed to do it on the phone and I did it in person. And I had to do it on the phone because I needed to hear how the person responded. And I had to ask again in person in order to see the physical response. Y'all, I'm being guided to do this only because spirit needs me to hear something and spirit needs me to see something in another person when I talk about living in this house where my aunt has passed from. Right now, I know that I don't want to be in the area, but it was like I was led to kind of make people think I was going left. And in reality, I was about to move 12 hours right. Do you understand? And so there's y'all, the strategy that comes with this, y'all know, right? Because you're here, how you know what you've made it through. And the fiercest warrior is going to go through battles that they tell no one about, right? Now, in the center of this reading, so anyway, let me just finish this, y'all. So anyway, I ended up hitting North Carolina, it wasn't until North Carolina that anybody knew that I was headed to Florida. Now, the people in Florida are shady, so everybody really knew what I was doing, but maybe not entirely, you know what I mean? So anyway, North Carolina, finally somebody knew where I was going. Once I got to Florida, this is where I was going, and I was not going to leave again. But everybody thought that I was just coming and then returning, right? Like, nobody really knew out of my mouth what the plans were, because I didn't even fucking know. Like, it was just being revealed to me. But the first calls from the first people that I got when I reached in Florida, those were the people with the greatest stakeholders in the way my life was to unfold next. And it was almost like, where are you? Are you coming back? What are you doing? Where are you? Right? Like, it was just a lot of paranoia that I could felt chasing me. And so it was like, let me tell you something. When I hit the state of Georgia, something happened intuitively. Like, in a vision, I was told that there were 16 people involved in my own unfolding. Like, my path as a shaman, it was being ripped apart by a lot of people who felt like they could benefit. Right? If their life had been a burden, and if they were given an offer, certain paths are going to be the path that you want to give you wealth and prosperity, especially when those souls have not yet awakened to who they are. And unfortunately, when you touch a hunter or when you touch a huntress, that is judgment. Because the huntress and the hunter has an opportunity to wake up. This is their moment to play a different game, a game that they've never played before. And everybody else has been playing with your path up until this point. But when you wake up, this is you answering the call. That's what judgment is. You get another round. How are you going to play this game this time? Now that your intuition is this strong, now that you see them, now that you know who they are, how are you going to play now? Right, y'all? And so I'm seeing this. I hit the state of Georgia. I'm like 16 people. A lot were family members. And then the rest were people that they just had extensions or ties to in order to kind of make things unfold. Right. And so then once I'm in Florida, essentially I'm safe here. Maybe not because the environment of the home I'm in is safe. It's because of how it works out. Right. From one enemy to the next. But sometimes that's the safest space to be. Nonetheless, once I'm finally here, every person in the home that has a cell phone is called within a matter of moments on one random day. And so it was almost like I was being chased. I felt cornered. The YouTube channel, my tarot numerology channel that I was building, I had TikTok, I had Facebook, like I was really doing the whole social thing. Like, let me put my channel everywhere. Y'all, why? Okay. And so the same family member that has been like almost in charge of me in ways I didn't know is following me on every social, and they've called everybody in the home I'm in, almost to intimidate, to kind of let me know I know where you are. You can't hide. Like, it was like one of those things, And I stopped talking to that person in May of 2021. Continued to get emails and texts, but I just understood what I was dealing with at that point. And you can't converse with the devil. So I didn't even make an attempt to. So anyway, y'all, I've never really shared that version of my story, but this reading reminds me of that because it literally talks about in the process of somebody choosing to conquer you, to conquer your path because your path would have relieved them of debt. When they touch you, it literally awakens your soul, and your spirit team says you need to come to the front and play this game a little differently. Somebody has used you to grant a wish in their own life. And you have a choice. Now that you know what your intuition is showing you, what do you do next? And the step that you took next was poetic justice. Y'all, I'm cornered in a home where I'm being watched, but I'm also being essentially chased from the same state that I just left. And my version of poetic justice is Tennille fucking talks. Sometimes the truth is too good to lie. Just start talking. And so I pick up tarot cards again after being totally turned off from them, and it blossoms. This blossoms. I grow, I heal, we meet, we connect. But all I'm saying is, The poetic justice is literally me deciding to take a step that I never took before. If I see you and if I know who I am, then like I gotta test this. I gotta drive this thing. This is it's almost like waking up in a new car, but it's the same body, and you gotta learn how to drive this thing. And if you got this power, well, damn it, you got protection. Right? And so you got to test it out. And what better way to test out your own protection than to tell the truth? To pick up the most powerful weapon that you could ever carry. Pick up the truth and watch what happens. Y'all, literally, I was not supposed to be in this moment with you on this day in this space. That is not how my path was being tweaked or manipulated. This reading literally revealed to me, I don't always share parts of my story, but there are certain readings when I know they're like, okay, go ahead. Yep, this is it. Now is the time to tell that part, right? Like I haven't done a beginning to end, but like the way that my soul was called to the front of the line, it literally happened in the middle of like some type of spiritual that was supposed to turn into physical homicide. And I was playing the role of victim only if I agreed to. And up until a certain point, I was in total agreement until I fucking wasn't. That is the poetic justice. The moment you no longer agree to play the role that they need you to play, this is when it all changes. This is when you become the judge. This is when you become the executioner. Is this a role that reflects me? Am I deserving of this? Does it reflect my worth? Does it reflect my honor? And if it doesn't, I'm not playing this way. So, in the center of the reading, I literally have a card that says secret. Whoever the accomplice, the Queen of Cups, the partner in crime, somehow this person thought that their involvement was secret. But I've already explained that you're a shaman. I've already explained that you are a warrior shaman. And so your path is built tough. Your path is built strong because you're strong. And so the opposition that comes against you is coming for your neck. But you're made and you're built to withstand and to overcome every obstacle. That is the poetic justice about you that you had to enact and stand in. My handmade card says, the distance you kept during my struggle, I'm going to need you to double it during my success. And so what this is saying, that those that kept secrets about what they were doing around you, they also kept you at a certain distance, meaning they put a barrier of protection. Not everybody wants you to know what they're doing. Not everybody wants to be put on blast. And so the secret that they thought that they were keeping from you, one, your soul had already been awakened. And the next card after secret literally says outer space. How can you keep a secret when you are touching a path of a shaman, and this shaman is directed and connected and guided by the physical space that is immediately outside of the Earth's atmosphere? And so a lot of people think if nobody on Earth knows what I'm involved in, then I'm safe. No, ho. We're talking about a shaman. We're talking about a divine messenger. You have touched somebody that is literally supposed to communicate something from the divine. They're watched by the divine, protected by the divine. Y'all, for some reason, when I got to this part of the reading, I thought about highlighters, literally the markers that highlight key points in text. In college, we used to break open the marker and take out the fabric that held all of the fluorescent ink. Well, if you put the highlighter guts inside of like a bottle of water with a little bit of food coloring and oil, you put it in your dorm room, you make a whole bunch of them, you line them up around the walls, and you turn on a black light, you got like lava lamps, like homemade cool glow lava lamps. For some reason, I randomly thought of that because what I understood, imagine that every time the path of a shaman is touched, it is equivalent to almost grabbing the fibers inside of the highlighter markers, right? And under normal light, you may not be able to see the fluorescent like residue on your hands. But because we are watched from outer space, we glow from above. And so imagine if Earth has like a black light over it. And the black light is going to reveal all of the shamanic healers, the divine messengers. The way you shine, if you were the shaman, is going to be really bright. But then there are a whole bunch of little dull lights. And any dull light is a reflection of somebody that has handled the path of a shaman illegally, right? And so some people feel like nobody on earth can see what's on my hands. But the way you are carrying the glow and the light of a shaman, it is seen differently from beyond Earth, right outside our atmosphere. Everybody is involved in this. Earth is a fucking arena. And the shamans are the greatest players to ever return. Everybody is watching a path of a shaman unfold because of what it is they are supposed to do here. They are carrying a divine message. Nobody's watching anybody more than you're watching the healers and the warriors. Like, come on. My handmade card says, what is of God's shines effortlessly. What is of the Caesar struggles to compare. And so a lot of people think nobody can see me. But it's like a lot of people do things in the dark because because they know that they struggle to be seen. When I stand next to a star, a shaman, a starseed, a healer, nobody sees me. And so they move in secrecy thinking, well, I've never been seen before. I'm not going to be seen now. But once you touch the path of a shaman, you're on a radar that you've never been on, but it's for the worst reason that you could possibly be on that radar, And so you struggled to compare. And so it caused you to do something thinking that you would remain hidden and you are more seen than you have ever been. And so to see secret followed by outer space is almost like spiritual comedy to me. To keep something secret that is broadcasted to all spiritual realms, and you're walking around here thinking like nobody will ever know that I'm an accomplice. Nobody will ever know that I'm a partner in crime, right? Nobody will ever know that I'm carrying this debt or this burden. And the entire realm is watching. After outer space, I have influenced. And this is what I mean about the path of a shaman. The shaman is in communication with spiritual realms. The shaman is in communication with the divine at all times. And when I say shaman, I'm literally talking about a divine messenger. Not everybody will carry the title of a shaman, but I'm talking about the level of work that you do. You are giving a spiritual message in however you walk through your life. And for the sake of this reading, it just says shaman, okay? And so somebody trusted that your path was going to rid them of funky ass debt. And you have an entire God message to deliver to humanity. And so they moved in secret, not knowing that everybody's watching this. And so now we got the Wheel of Fortune. And so this is saying, I commit the crime to get rid of a debt. I do it in secret. And while I'm committing the crime, I want to keep you away from me. I don't want you to know what I've done. So certain people kind of put up barriers. They get a little arrogant. They put up distance. They act like, like they start smelling themselves. Okay. But the outer space is watching because of your level of influence. And so when you touch a shaman, you influence not only Earth, but you influence the universe. Like there's a ripple effect attached to them, and you have just touched that ripple unnecessarily. Okay. And so when the Wheel of Fortune comes, I have a card that says risked it all. Somebody literally risked. This was, to touch a shaman is to trigger a spiritual initiation. The shaman will be forever changed, but so will the person that decided to touch you. And so people didn't understand that the plot, however they used your path, and I literally have partner in crime, the crimes that were committed on or because of your shamanic path, it is because of the influence you carry that the Wheel of Fortune and the karma is going to come in the way it's going to come. And so what was once secret will reach outer space. For some of y'all, this is going to be mainstream fucking media. And somebody risked it all to get out of debt. You touched the soul of a huntress. You awakened a huntress. You triggered judgment. Immediately after judgment, we get the judge. And then finally, the judgment is that there is a message. The message of what you've done has literally reached the stars, and you risked it all to do so. Y'all, I'm telling you, this reading immediately took me back because I understood what I was going through, haven't entirely made it out of the situation, but you literally have to decide to walk different. When you know who you are and you see who they are, if you just step different in one way, it is going to change the narrative of the story that is being written for you by a whole bunch of people who aren't even qualified to pick up a pen. Do you understand? Nobody on this earth can rewrite the path of a shaman. It is a divine journey, set apart, anointed and appointed. It comes with grace, favor, and protection. And everybody that you walk past, some people just have a desire to get some of that. And some are foolish enough to do it and think that it will remain a secret. Y'all, I just want to say something. One of my cards, it talks about, in order for them to have this wish granted, this was supposed to bring them happiness, but your level of influence was unknown, right? In order for them to have this wish granted, the secrecy of it all, it was the solution, keeping you at a distance. It was, putting up a barrier, either emotionally or spiritually separating themselves was really important. My handmade card. The distance you kept during my struggle, I'm going to need you to double during my success. When this wheel of fortune turns, first of all, it only turns because you stepped different. You turn the wheel of fortune. You turn the karma. When you're called to the front of the line, and when you were given the option to play this game in an entirely different way, you turn the wheel. Fate moves, right? Like, because you have stepped left, now this is the option. When you step right, do you understand the way you impress your energy upon the universe is going to deliver a certain response? And so a different step is a different universal response. You do this when you honor the awakening of your soul. And everybody that was at a distance, when they kept your struggle at the forefront of how they identified with you, everybody that treated you like you were some type of diseased, right? Even though they were the one to put you in that space, when this wheel of fortune turns and when you effortlessly shine, and when everybody that attempted to walk in your energy, when they struggle to compare, make sure that they double the distance. Don't come close now. I want you to double the distance that you kept from me. When you saw me struggle, you watched from across the street. I want you to go stand a block away from me now, right? When you see my shine, I want you to go a couple blocks back. That's what this reading says, because people are going to be brand new, because they had no idea that your influence would literally reach the stars. You are watched and guided and protected from the outer space. Imagine like a whole bunch of ascended masters holding a snow globe. They're holding Earth in their hands, watching us. And somebody is thinking that your path is able to be manipulated in secrecy. A crime because debt was too heavy. Right? Solve your own fucking problems. All right, y'all. I love you. This is our reading, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.